In this video, I'll show you how you can use Windshuttle Studio to update vendor records in SAP. Today we'll cover the top 10 use cases in finance, how to automate vendor updates in SAP using our Windshuttle Studio product, both from the author perspective and from the perspective of the business user running the automated solution. We'll also see potential savings, where to find example templates, and finally, a brief summary. This is a list of the top 10 use cases for finance transactions, among which you can see a few vendor processes. There are both transactional and master data transactions here, such as vendor update, as well as vendor creation and vendor invoice creation. You can see we have hundreds of customers already automating these processes, offering them time savings of over 99% in most cases compared to running these transactions manually through SAP. The steps required to manually update a vendor in SAP usually require the user to navigate several different screens and fields for each individual record. We find that our customers prefer using a simple Excel front end that allows them to easily enter their data before validating and loading it in mass into SAP. Windshuttle offers 3 different author modules. Transaction allows you to easily update and load data into SAP. Query allows you to extract data in real time from SAP for creating regular or ad hoc reports. And finally, Direct gives you the capacity to quickly build Excel-based solutions using SAP's BAPI and function module capabilities. Today we will be covering the transaction module. There are 3 simple steps to our authoring experience. Record our vendor update in SAP, map the fields used in that recording to an Excel template, and finally run the scenario to create the data in SAP. Let's see it in action. So here we are in our Windshuttle Studio product where we have transaction, query, and direct modules, but in this case I'm going to select transaction, create from SAP recording, select the SAP system where I want to record, and the next thing I'm going to do is to select the transaction that I want to record, in this case XK02. Once in SAP, all I'm going to do is select a vendor, select any views with fields that I may want to modify, and go ahead and change any fields that I want to appear on my template. So in this first screen, maybe we don't want to modify anything, but if I navigate to the other screens, we may want to create a template that allows us to modify cash management group, payment terms, and currency. All we do now is save, and that would finish the first step, which is to record the process. The second step is to map the process, and what we have here is a list of fields that we use in the recording, and down below an Excel file. In this case, we're going to create an Excel file from scratch, but we also have the option to import an existing template and map on that file. To actually do the mapping, all we're going to do is select a column and drag and drop to the selected field. We can do that field by field, or we can also select several fields and map in this way. Any fields that I have mapped will be considered variable and will show up on the template. Any fields which I have not mapped will be considered fixed values, which means that they do not show up as columns in our template, but will always upload into SAP with those same values. That's the case of the company code and the purchasing organization. For a very basic scenario, this would be it, but we also have more functions that we could add to this template. We could add required fields, lists of allowed values, we can add logic or even loops to our process. And finally, as authors, what we can do is enter more data and test out our scenario before sharing it with the end user. Now that we've seen how to create a solution, let's take a look at the business user perspective. In this case, the user has received a template created by the author, and now all they have to do is enter their data into the template and load it into SAP. As an end user, I can work directly with the Windshuttle add-on for Excel, and this allows me to run my data. I can also look up values, and I can also validate, amongst other things. For this example, let's go ahead and validate the data that I already have entered into my template. And here I can see that the validation has given us a few error messages. So most of my data is correct according to the rules that we have in SAP, but I do have a vendor with some invalid payment terms and another for which the currency is incorrect. So Windshuttle tells me where the error is and what the error is. This is the exact message that I would see in SAP if I were to input this data manually. So let's go ahead and modify the terms of payment. Let's change the currency that was incorrect. And now we can go ahead and run our data. So now the run is completed and I don't see any errors, so this means that our vendors have been modified correctly in SAP. Let's just quickly take a look and make sure that the changes have been made. And if we go into the first vendor, for example, we can see that all the data is the same as in our template. For example, the planning group is A2, as in the template. Terms of payment are 30 days. And finally, the order currency is dollars, as is in the template. So now we've seen just how simple it is to quickly update several vendors in SAP using WinShuttle. From the business user's perspective, these templates give them the ability to quickly update vendors directly from Excel, to look up values from SAP through their template. It also allows them a real-time validation against SAP before uploading in order to ensure data quality. It can easily correct and reprocess errors. And finally, it gives them the power to manage their own data without relying on others. Customers have achieved a lot of savings automating vendor transaction, and here are just some examples. You can see we have millions of records uploaded in the prior year and over 500,000 days saved, and this is only for vendor transactions. There are lots of other opportunities to further automate the vendor process. You can decide to automate the vendor creation process, vendor extension to different purchasing orgs, automate purchase info records or source lists, and finally, you could also use our query module to extract pricing information before modifying it in Excel and returning it to SAP from a single template. You can also leverage Studio Manager or Evolve for server-based execution and scheduling of these data loads or extractions. You may also use Evolve for further business process automation for processes which require data to be collected and approved by different users before being loaded into SAP. You can find additional information on our community site where you can access training, connect with other WinShuttle experts, and also find ready-made Excel templates. These are located in the Studio Templates link, where you can find them not only for vendor transactions, but for processes across all SAP modules.